But again, I wouldn't recommend getting to a place where you would be able to hear it. If you are in this area in the red box, or if you are anywhere to the north of this, I'm going to throw another track on it right here, moving to the north at 35 miles an hour. So Gifford, Winter Beach, Wasabo Beach, those are areas that you should watch out for within the next 30 minutes or so. If not for rotation, then even just for this heavy downpour and the strong winds associated with this cell. Definitely move to the lowest floor. If you have one available, move to the interior parts of your home, away from doors, away from windows, anything that can shatter. Those are the things that you can do to minimize your risk associated with this cell. Jen?
Yeah, Charlotte, and as you mentioned, you want to stay inside because, again, we've been tracking very heavy rainfall. Now, even outside of any sort of rotation, there's still going to be very gusty wind conditions, and that threat is starting to shift its way into Indian River County. We have heavy rainfall just south of Fellsmere. There's no tornadic activity associated with this cell heading towards 512, but we will see heavy rainfall for a brief period of time here. That tornado warning continues until 9:15, so we still have about 15 more minutes left in this individual tornado warning. We will continue to see if maybe this gets extended to include parts of Indian River County right along the I-95 corridor here. And here's the Florida Turnpike. Let's zoom in a little bit. Indrio Road is right there along parts of I-95. That's just south of Indrio Road, excuse me. Meadowood Drive right here in that community there just to the east of I-95, still seeing heavy rainfall potential. But this general area right here, it's kind of a rural part of St. Lucie County, I know, but here's the Florida Turnpike right along the bend as it heads its way to the west. Right along that bend between that and I-95 is where we're watching that general area. Again, with the velocity scan, it shows wind heading towards the radar side and wind heading away from a radar side. The tighter the two get, that's a general area we're watching. Fairly broad in nature, I have to say, but it is still a signature of some sort of rotation. And as we mentioned, as this continues to move north at about 35 miles per hour, it will move into Indian River County. So I want to give you a heads up now that we will start to see gusty wind conditions and heavy rainfall, maybe even some areas of rotation that could be, and when we say areas of rotation, we're not necessarily saying that there's going to be a large tornado on the ground. We say it because it can lift up debris fairly quickly, even in these strong wind gusts, and can kind of throw things around fairly fast. So even though we don't have a confirmed sighting of any sort of tornado, because of the general look of rotation, that is something we're watching for maybe a funnel cloud to develop and also could produce very strong wind gust at times, which is why we tell you to stay inside, because with strong wind gust, it can lift up very light debris, maybe even patio furniture, or maybe even, your trash can that could fly down the street. Well, those things can move around fairly quickly and can actually maybe impact your home, which is why we tell you to stay away from doors and windows, because those are the general vulnerable spots of your home for any sort of lifted debris. So right along I-95 there, we have more downpours working their way into Martin County right now, right over Hobe Sound, heavy rainfall heading towards the Stewart area, and then that individual thunderstorm in northern St. Lucie County is what we've been watching for that tropical tornado threat. So as we head through the day today, this will continue to be our threat for our entire area. We're under a tornado watch right now for the Treasure Coast, Okeechobee County, really the entire Florida Peninsula because of Hurricane Helene well off to our west. So here's a look at that tornado watch in effect for our entire area, and that tornado warning is for northern St. Lucie County, generally to the north and west right now of the downtown Fort Pierce area. Charlotte, can we just get a big picture of Helene right now just to show you what we're talking about when it comes to tropical tornadoes?
Yes.
Helene is located well over, I'd say 400 miles away from us, the exact center of the storm. Tropical storm force winds will extend about 350 miles away from the center of the storm. And of course, here's a look at the outer bands. This is why we tell you the effects of a tropical system extend well away from the center of the storm. Let's get a zoomed in look at that individual thunderstorm now in northern St. Lucie County, now entering parts of Indian River County. It is exiting the polygon right now. So we'll have to see if the National Weather Service Office extends this tornado warning. But again, it's until 9:15, so we have another 10 minutes in this tornado warning, and is right along I-95 is that general area with heavy rainfall and strong wind gusts that we're watching. This will approach 9th Street Southwest in parts of Indian River County, right along I-95 west, 58th Avenue. This general area is where we're watching. 82nd Avenue, next in line, 90th Avenue, next in line, right around State Road 60 in Indian River County, and where that meets up with I-95. So as we watch this general area, if you live along let's go back to St. Lucie County so I can tell people who are now out of the threat. Along Okeechobee Road South, so Port St. Lucie, Tradition, parts of the Carlton area, you're now out of the threat for any sort of tornado threat. So this has now moved north and is now entering Indian River County. St. Lucie County, I'm going to say you're out of the threat right now. This is moving out of the tornado polygon, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they either expire it or extend it. If we can get a velocity scan on that, we'll try to see and gauge. So there we go. So yeah, so the rotation is starting to broaden out a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised now if they just let this expire or let this discontinue. But it's moving right along I-95 here, gusty winds and heavy rainfall. Charlotte, I'll send this over to you.
So what we're looking at here, it looks like, I can't even think of a good analogy here, but you really want it to be two circles next to each other, one green, one red. We do not have that by any means. These are banana shapes. We want them to be circles, which is good. We don't want them to be circles. That is what gives us the indication that there is a tornado or that there is at least rotation on radar. So banana shapes are perfectly fine. That means to us that there's not great rotation right now. That indicates to us that, winds are starting to fall apart. If there was any structure to the rotation, that is falling apart. So this is a good signature right now to see on velocity imagery. It looks like they have continued the warning. Yes, they have created a new polygon which extends into Martin County. So this is the rotation that we're looking at. It's right on the Indian River County, St. Lucie County line, and then it will extend up into the northern county line of Indian River County, so right up to that Sebastian Fellsmere area. I'm gonna throw a track on this really quickly, just so we can get a good idea of who is going to be impacted and when. So right now they are saying, the National Weather Service in Melbourne is saying it is traveling 35 miles an hour to the north, and it is going to head straight into Indian River County. Still, we're seeing broad rotation. They are saying, they haven't seen any indication, they haven't gotten any confirmation that there is rotation on the ground, but this is what our track looks like. So due north, 35 miles an hour. If it continues on this exact northward track, 9:35, Sebastian, start heading indoors, start getting away from windows, heading to your interior rooms, because even if this is not a confirmed tornado, it's still best practice to treat every tornado warning like it is a real tornado. And then Vero Lake Estates, 9:27. That is your timestamp to head indoors. We are experiencing heavy downpours up in Indian River County right now. So we're seeing a pretty good, not just that cell, but the entire line associated with that cell that's stemming from Helene. Those are all pretty robust rainmakers right now. So that one cell, it's dropping rain at, let's get a calculation on this. I would guess around 1 to 2 inches of rain. Yeah, 2 and 2/10 inches of rain per hour. So that's pretty heavy rain, especially in this area that is pretty significantly saturated with the rainfall that we've received this week. Last week, we've had major flooding concerns in this area. So, if not for the tornado threat, this is a flooding threat. And then, up in this cell that's right on that Indian River County line, about an inch, almost 1.25 inches of rain per hour up there. So this is nothing to shy away from, that's nothing to bat an eye at. It's a pretty significant amount of rain to be falling in a short amount of time. And although the storms are moving pretty fast, meaning that, we're probably not going to see 2.25 inches of rain in the next hour, it's still, best practice to stay inside right now for sure. Jen?
And as you mentioned, let's get the latest on this. At 9:05, a severe thunderstorm was moving near Vero Beach Highland or Vero Beach South, moving north at 35 miles per hour. This storm will be near the Vero Beach, Gifford, and Vero Beach South area around 9:10. Sebastian Fellsmere in the Sebastian Highlands area at about 9:20, and then Roseland at about 9:30 this morning. And this thunderstorm has had history of producing rotation and has history of indicating rotation that could lead to maybe a funnel cloud or even an isolated tornado threat, which is why they likely extended this into the Indian River County area just to give an advance warning that, hey, there's going to be some gusty wind conditions moving in. At this time, the general area of rotation is fairly broad in nature as we look at the Melbourne radar site, but we'll continue to watch this as that general thunderstorm too. Let's pause this right here, right to the west of Vero Beach, that heavy rainfall there. So it's starting to broaden out a little bit when it comes to the rainfall, which is something we like to see because that means that the wind potential or the rotation potential has decreased. But there's an isolated lightning strike here. Heavy downpour right now over I-95. This is not the time to be out in the roadways currently. You'll want to stay inside until this warning does expire, until 9:30. And you'll want to stay inside away from doors and windows just because there is gusty wind conditions in the general area, which will lead to maybe lofting of some light loose items. Maybe a light flower pot might fall onto the ground or maybe move its way across the area. But gusty wind conditions are expected right along State Road 60. Here's a look right to the west of Vero Beach in Indian River County. So we can get a zoomed in look right now. Heavy rainfall right over Stony Brook, right over State Road 60. This is to the east of I-95 in Indian River County and is generally over these inland spots in the Vero Beach area. Now, as this moves north, it will move towards the Vero Lakes Estate area right around, I'd say, the 9:15 mark, 9:20, and then into Sebastian at about 9:20. So as this is moving north at 35 miles per hour, again, with any tropical thunderstorm, these move very quickly and, of course, can produce a tornado very quickly, but can also lift a tornado up off the ground very fast, too, which is kind of what we're seeing with this cell here in Indian River County. St. Lucie County, your threat from this isolated thunderstorm has now ended, so you're okay to come out of your safe place. But right now, we have a tornado warning that was issued for Indian River County. This does include Gifford, Lakewood Park, and Sebastian until 9:30. So again, we have about 20 minutes of this tornado warning, and even though kind of that general area of rotation that we've been watching has kind of broadened out a little bit, we're still watching the potential for gusty winds. So it's important to stay inside, take every tornado warning seriously. Even if nothing develops or there is no damage, it's still important to practice the tornado safety for future tornadoes so that you know, hey, where am I going to go inside of my house? I'm going to head into an interior room probably, staying away from doors and windows and just staying away from going outside here as the storm moves through the area. Let's get a velocity scan on this just to see where the strongest wind is in this thunderstorm. So again, any sort of rotation would probably be generally in this area. Not really seeing much, Charlotte, right? We're not seeing much associated with that. So now that general strong wind potential has now broadened out, and that's starting to decrease, though we still have that tornado warning in effect. So it's still important to take this seriously, Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that we're having that low-level rotation needed for a tornado warning. Definitely different story when you look in the mid-levels, which, you know, tornadoes don't only exist in the lowest level of that radar scan at, but, you know, mid-level rotation is not the rotation that necessarily gets those tornadoes onto the ground. So, you know, we'll keep mid-level rotation all day long instead of that low-level rotation, which, again, is what we mentioned, those two colors right next to one another. That's what you look for when the National Weather Service is issuing those tornado warnings. That indicates to us that there is rotation within a cell, specifically these tropical tornadic supercells that we get. This is a huge problem, especially, you know, we do fall on the east side of Helene, which is one of the main risks we knew associated with this storm, even though we're not in an area that necessarily the storm is going to be making landfall in. These are the types of risks that we have when storms are to our northwest. So we are on the tornadic side of the storm. We are on the side that has the risk for more surge. Obviously, that's not a risk for our area because of the wind doesn't have the ability to push waves onshore for us because it's actually going directly offshore. But in general, what happens is just all of the friction that we've been talking about associated with these tornadic supercells, in addition to our dynamics that exist on a day-to-day basis here. We have the possibility for these to develop, pretty much any day that we have a direct onshore breeze, a slight offshore breeze, any difference that can kind of rub up against the coast and get any of those columns of air rotating and turned into the vertical plane. That's how you get the tornadoes, and that's how we generally get these tornado warnings. So right now we're seeing the primary area that I believe the National Weather Service is monitoring. It's in the center of Indian River County, right now north of 60, where it's heading up 95, but it's right to the east of 95, heading towards Vero Lake Estates. It's a little bit to the east of Fellsmere, but Fellsmere, you're likely to still see some of the rainfall associated with this, some of the wind as well. Jen?
And as you mentioned, with any sort of tropical system, again, bigger picture of Helene, we're still seeing the outer bands move through the area, and the tropical storm force winds associated with Helene extend far out from the center of the storm. So the tropical storm force winds extend about 350 miles away from the center of the storm. And Helene is now a Category 2 hurricane working its way through the Gulf of Mexico, and it will continue to strengthen up until landfall. We are not going to see the worst impacts from the system in the way of storm surge or hurricane force winds. That is for the west side of the state, especially the Big Bend region. What we see are the indirect effects from Helene in the way of the outer bands, which will produce heavy rainfall for a short period of time, and then you'll see a break in the rain in the way of cloudy conditions and also even some sunshine here and there. But with that sunshine and heat, that can cause instability. So as these tropical outer bands move through, they kind of tap into some of that instability from the heating of the ground between these outer bands, and that can actually help to produce some of these stronger thunderstorms, which produce heavier rainfall and stronger wind gusts. And in some of these cases, because these outer bands move very quick, they kind of interact with the friction of the ground. And in some cases, you can have a quick spin-up tornado develop very quickly, which is why we had this general area warned in parts of St. Lucie County. So still seeing some signals of some gusty wind conditions right along I-95. This tornado has been allowed to continue now, so we still haven't seen any update from the National Weather Service office in Melbourne, Florida. But this is heading towards Vero Lake Estates and the Fellsmere area, where we've already seen some heavy rainfall within the past 20 minutes or so from previous thunderstorms that are moving north. So in this general areas where we're watching some gusty wind conditions, really that area of rotation we were watching has broadened out a little bit. So that threat has now decreased. So if you're in southern Indian River County, you're okay to come out of your safe place if you've been staying there over the past couple of minutes and have been listening to us. You're okay to come out, but I wouldn't really venture outside because we still will see a heavy rainfall threat heading through the day today, and especially over the next hour or so as more storms move across parts of the Treasure Coast. So we will continue to remain on coverage with this through about 9:20 as this tornado warning remains active. And again, within this tropical system, we'll continue to see the threat for tropical tornadoes, and which is why a tornado watch was in effect for pretty much the entire Florida peninsula because of the potential for quick spin-up isolated tornadoes within these outer bands. We've got heavy rainfall across parts of central Florida, just south of the I-4 corridor. That tornado watch will continue through this evening too. And with the system being so far away from us, even outside of thunderstorms, it's going to remain quite windy in our area. We're going to see winds sustained today between 25, 30 miles per hour into the afternoon, with much higher gusts possible, especially along Garmedia coastline. Could see wind gusts close to maybe the 50 mile per hour mark. And even within thunderstorms, we could see stronger wind gusts too. So that's why it's important to, practice weather, stay weather aware for today. If a tornado warning gets issued, you'll want to take cover, make sure you stay inside and stay away from doors and windows whenever a tornado warning is issued. So here's a look at that thunderstorm. It's starting to kind of broaden out when it comes to rainfall right now. Starting to see maybe moderate rain moving into right around the Fellsmere area, right around I-95 between that and Sebastian. and then heavy rainfall just south of that area too. So this is moving north. We'll move into Brevard County here over the next 20 minutes or so, and eventually work its way across the east coast of Florida here. Let's get a picture of the southern Treasure Coast, because I know there's a fairly large thunderstorm moving through. Here's a look at that. Stewart right here. Port St. Lucie are experiencing heavy rainfall and some frequent lightning strikes right over the I-95 corridor here in Martin County. So another downpour working its way into St. Lucie County. I know we just had that thunderstorm just about a half hour ago, but we're starting to see another area of thunderstorms and heavy rainfall now moving through St. Lucie County and approaching the Fort Pierce area with cloudy conditions in parts of the Palm Beach County area where we saw that same storm move through the downtown West Palm Beach area about 30 minutes ago. So we'll still remain on air with this, even though this is starting to move towards the border of Indian River and Brevard County. Overall, our tornado threat with this individual thunderstorm has diminished. We're still seeing heavy rainfall now moving through parts of the Sebastian and Fellsmere area between the two, right along State Road 510. So I haven't seen any update from the National Weather Service office in Melbourne for this, but we have about 10 minutes left in this tornado warning, but the actual threat has now decreased at this time. The greatest threat, of course, was in central St. Lucie County, where we first saw this system, this isolated thunderstorm, kind of develop and get its act together, and then has now kind of weakened as it moved its way through the Indian River County area. So if you're in the southern portion of southern coastal region of Indian River County, your threat has now ended for the Vero Beach, Florida Ridge, I-95 corridor there, south of State Road 60. You're okay to come out of your safe place if you have been staying there, but we are experiencing another thunderstorm moving in from Martin County and entering St. Lucie County, so that threat will continue here over the next, I'd say, 30 minutes or so once that individual storm moves through. Let's get a big picture of Helene right now. You can see the heavy rainfall across parts of the Tampa Bay area now moving through the I-4 corridor. This will approach the Orlando area here soon. So this is likely why, if maybe you had a flight out today or over the next day or so, this will be the reason why your flight might get delayed or canceled. And I know the Tampa International Airport has closed for the day. This is why. It's because we're seeing the outer bands of the system move through, and we're experiencing gusty conditions and heavy rainfall across the area as well. There's the center of Helene. It is a Category 2 hurricane right now, and with the 8 o'clock advisory, it was a Category 2 hurricane with winds up to 100 miles per hour, but that's in the strongest portion of the storm. We're talking close to the center where the hurricane force winds are located. Through the day today, we'll experience the tropical effects from this system. That's why tropical storm warning was in effect for today, because of the gusty conditions we are expecting heading into this afternoon and early evening. Helene is a fairly large storm, so those tropical storm force winds extend very far out. So that's why a tropical storm warning is in effect. And of course, with any sort of tropical system, especially along the east side of them, when you get the outer bands moving through, that's when we do have that tornado threat. So that's why we were watching the system very closely, and that's why we've had multiple tornado warnings issued through this morning, starting around the 3 o'clock hour, and really has popped up every few hours. We've had one or two. So the National Weather Service office in Melbourne has allowed the tornado warning to expire for Indian River and St. Lucie County. So again, that tornado threat is now over. You're okay to come out of your safe place if you've been staying there, but we still will see on and off periods of heavy rainfall, which is now moving through southern St. Lucie County and will enter the coastline of Indian River in northern St. Lucie County here over the next couple of minutes or so. So I want to get some guidance right now from our producers to see where we want to go. So we're going to take you to a commercial break right now, and then we'll come back with ARC Florida here in just a few minutes.